What's going on, everybody? It's the Hook Cam back again with a draft day breakdown, this time taking a look at the Detroit Lions day 3 picks. Overall, I thought this was a really good draft for Detroit. They made a point to strengthen their trenches, right? Whether offensive line or defensive line, they went heavy D-line. But they made it a point, we're going to be a lot better in the trenches, which I think it's a really good move, especially when you look at this NFC North. There's some question marks as what's going on in Green Bay. However, they can run the football well. Minnesota, they pound that wide zone. They're a good running football team out there in Minnesota. It's basically Kubiak stuff. And then in Chicago, I think that they're going to have more of an emphasis on running the football as well. However, Chicago's kind of a question mark at this point as well. So, but long story short, with Detroit, what we saw was a heavy dose of defensive line guys. This Derrick Barnes kid who we're looking at right now is a linebacker who can get after the football, man. He can play really anywhere on the defense. So, but anyway, long story short, they made a point to strengthen in the trenches, and they did not want that to be a deficiency like it was last year. They didn't want that to hold them back. And I think they did just that. So they also got a little bit better at the receiver position. There's a couple of undrafted guys that I want to talk about who I think could make an impact for them. However, obviously, like with undrafted guys, they're going to have to earn that roster spot. So before I dive into all that, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel, The Hook Cam, as well as to Jackson Kruger Sports, that would mean the world to both of us. All right, checking out the first pick for the Detroit Lions on day 3. I'm on St. Brown. If you don't know about the St. Browns, I'm a California guy, so I'm pretty familiar with this family. I don't know them personally, but so his brother played for Notre Dame. He has another brother who played for Stanford. This kid's family is a football family, born and bred to be stud football players, and that's exactly what this kid is. He's no different than the rest of them. Good football player, good route runner. He can stretch the field. He's 5'11", so he's probably going to be more of that slot guy. But he's going to create a lot of matchup problems for a defense. He's quick, he's fast, he can stretch the field. The one thing that I do really like about him is that, when he does a good job of accelerating out of routes, which is something that we don't see a lot, and we see that kind of hold receivers back. He makes tough catches like this one-hander against Notre Dame, like we see right here against Iowa, stretching the field, does a really good job of tracking that football all the way in. And then this play right here, I had to cut this thing off because of the old YouTube 5-second rule. However, this is just coming off of a sweep right here. The bottom line with St. Brown, he's a football player, right? I don't think that he's going to mind you give him the rock on a couple of jet sweeps. He's just a football guy. So I'm excited to see what he can do out in Detroit. I think that he'll definitely have a role early for this football team, and I'm excited to see what Anthony Lynn can do with him. So moving on to their next pick, Derrick Barnes out of Purdue. Honestly, man, it's tough to go wrong with a Big Ten linebacker, especially with a kid like Derrick Barnes with what you see on film. So the one thing that I noticed right away about Barnes is that he played in a number of different positions. He played DN, he played outside linebacker, he played Mike. This kid's just an all-around football player, and that's really, kind of the theme, and it's a cliche thing to say, right? He's a football player, he's a football guy. Really, all I mean by that, he's gritty, he can play a number of positions, and he's got a good nose for the football. That's really what I see with Derrick Barnes, right? He's got a great motor on him. He's always looking for that rock. Does a really good job on a play like this, right? They're just running power right here. He's going to try and keep it A-gap. He ends up bouncing it. Barnes does a good job tracking this thing, working right outside, making a tackle for loss. Stuff like that is really good to see. He can also get after the quarterback, which is something that, it's unique to kind of see that, right? A kid who can play Mike and also get after the quarterback. That's a unique trait to have. So I do wonder where Detroit is going to put him. Here's another really good play of him just tracking stuff down. Legit, guys, we're seeing a dude who's playing Mike linebacker on this play, and then in 2 more plays, we're going to see him stiff arm a tackle into a quarterback for a sack. He's a good football player. I'm really, really impressed with this. And then just talk about athleticism with this play right here. He's coming in on a stunt. I believe he's lined up on the outside right here. He's going to stunt inside. They're going to stunt this this D tackle outside in between that guard and tackle. Open up the gates right there. Running back's going to come up and meet him in the hole to cut, and then he's going to work off of this thing and make a sack. That's a good play right there, man, to work off of the cut and get upfield and make a sack. And then, he's, like I said, he's kid lives in the backfield. Really interested to see. This is the clip I wanted to finish it on. This is really good stuff out of Derrick Barnes. He's at the bottom right here. Watch him just stiff arm this tackle right into the quarterback. That's pretty sick. You don't see that out of a lot of guys. He looks like a high energy dude. Definitely a guy who I could see getting reps for them. And again, that gritty football guy, that gritty football player that we see Detroit drafting, I think is going to work wonders for their culture and for their football team in general. So this next pick for the Detroit Lions, Jamar Jefferson out of Oregon State. I think it's an underrated pick for the Lions. I really do. I think that he is a very explosive back, and at Oregon State, sometimes he got great blocking up front, other times he didn't, and that obviously it kind of hurt his draft stock. With this first play that I showed you, he actually takes this 80 to the house. It's just a really simple outside zone, or more, like an outside zone that Oregon State's running. He's able to kind of ping pong around inside of there. Good job with his aiming point, and then what I like about it is that he cuts it back upfield because he can see that we got cats on the outside. He's able to break that thing back to outside the numbers and take that thing for a big time touchdown. So I like the way this kid runs. He's gritty. The one thing that I do enjoy about him that I think is kind of special is the fact that, in the backfield, he has the ability, like on this play right here, to cut this thing back 2-3 gaps, right? So we're aiming play side A gap on this, and he cuts this thing back all the way to like backside B. That's really impressive to do. That's great running back vision from him. It's there, with play calling today, you're kind of setting running backs up for easier reads, but reading something and actually executing it are two different things. So I really liked what I saw with this kid. A lot of inside zone, a lot of wide zone from really kind of wide zone or outside zone from Oregon State. I liked what I saw. I liked his vision. I think that he's going to be a good football player for the Detroit Lions. It'll be interested to see, like I said, I repeat myself a ton in these. I'm interested to see what he can do. Going to be fighting for a spot. DeAndre Swift, Kerryon Johnson. It'll be a loaded running back room. I think that they're creating a lot of talent in there. But you think about Jamar Jefferson and what he can do with the offensive line that Detroit's now built. I think that he can definitely be a good football player and get some decent snaps for the Lions. So this next kid, now we're moving into the undrafted guys. Javon Mckinley out of Notre Dame, 6'1", is a big receiver that the Lions signed. And you could tell that, they didn't want to prioritize receiver during the draft. They wanted to do, I think that they kind of had a feeling that we're going to be able to find talent outside on the perimeter after the draft. So they went out and they got a couple of undrafted guys. They picked up this cat, Javon Mckinley, out of Notre Dame. This catch right here really stuck out to me. So this kid right here is Caleb Farley. First-round draft pick out of Virginia Tech, their corner. He makes a really nice catch against them. That was his only catch of the game. I don't know really where he lined up throughout that game, so I don't know if it was like all locked down from Caleb Farley or what, but he's got some good ability after the catch. Big dude, fast, does a really good job of high putting balls. This is a really good back shoulder ball from Ian Book, but also going up and getting it from McKinley. Interested to see what he can do. The next kid that Detroit signed was Jonathan Adams Jr. Out of Arkansas State. So this is another kid, right? 6'3". They went big on the outsides and undrafted, and I'm a fan of that at all times. This kid's pretty athletic though. Really, really good body control. Matchup nightmare one-on-one, especially if he goes up against a corner who's smaller. I think he had an injury because he's rocking a knee brace in some of these clips, but all in all, very athletic, does a good job going up and getting the football, probably can jump out of a gym. I don't know what his pro day stats were or anything like that, but he's got some pretty crazy ball skills as well. Interested to see what they can do with him in terms of route running and stuff. And anytime I see big receivers like that, it makes me think of Kenny Golladay. Not necessarily that the dude's going to live up to Kenny Galladay's name in that sense, but Kenny Golladay coming out of college, yeah, he put up some decent numbers, but he needed to get coached. And I think that, in Detroit, they probably have some pretty damn good receivers coaches because they've had some pretty damn good receivers run through there. So whenever I see the potential of these guys, the 6'1", 6'3", 6'2" guys, there's always that potential that you're going to hit and this dude's going to blow up and have an insane season. There's always that possibility. So, and especially with a receiver room right now that's looking for guys to prove themselves, it's going to create that competition. And I think that that's going to bring out the best in a lot of these receivers. Now, the last guy that I want to highlight, not the last guy Detroit signed, the last guy I want to highlight is Sage Sarot. He's 6'2", out of Wake Forest. This kid put up some good numbers, man. I think he had 60, 70 catches in this last year. Does a good job creating separation. Like I said, can go up and get the football. Big dude. A guy that you can target at on the goal line like this right here. Really good football player. Kind of surprised he didn't go during the draft. And he's had a couple of clips in this where, he's going up and getting over defensive backs and getting after dudes, and really interested to see. Once again, I really like the talent that Detroit brought in this year in the draft, and I think that that's refreshing for a lot of fans. And it's going to be, like I said, very intriguing to see what Detroit does. And I was talking the other day, and it's okay, they bring in this talent, everything from first round on. I think a lot of fans are like, all right, what do we do now? Well, now it's on the coaching staff. And I look at the staff that they've put together with, Dan Campbell, Anthony Lynn, and Aaron Glenn, I believe is defensive coordinator's name. And, you have Anthony Lynn and Dan Campbell. You basically have 2 head coaches in that. And then you have Aaron Glenn, who spent a ton of time in New Orleans, and that's a great coaching staff. Like, Detroit has set themselves up to be in a very, very good position right now and in the future. And you trust that coaching staff. You trust those guys to get it done. And I think Detroit is going to be, turning the corner here. And I think we're going to see some good improvements this year. So we'll see what happens, guys. There's obviously a lot of changes in Detroit and a lot of things can happen. But, just with how everything's dialed in right now, I think it's going to be a bright future. So anyway, guys, that's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, if you could hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to my channel. That's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.